We're gonna get started in just a second, but before we do, just a reminder, if you haven't done it yet, I see a lot of people don't have their sports listed on their name. So if you need to remember how to do that, again, just hover over your own picture, click on the 3 dots on the top right, and then that will allow you to rename yourself. So put your sport in there so we can start getting to know you and see if you find any teammates that you maybe haven't met. Kayla Payne, how are you doing today? Where are you at?
I'm good. I'm just at home right now, and I leave for Boulder on Saturday. So
fun. Where's home right now?
Carlsbad, like San Diego area.
Sweet. Love that. Let's see. Okay, if you haven't done it yet, turn on your camera so that we can see you. And there's someone in there that's listed as Zoom user. If you want to get credit for being here today, make sure that you rename yourself also. Thank you. Okay, we see a couple more people coming up, and then we're going to get started once I get a couple more screens turned on before we're... Tristan Jackson, you doing okay today?
Yeah, I'm good.
Great. Are you finding a quiet place to go take this call, hopefully?
I literally just got out of class and I'm here at the fueling station, so I'll be walking over to the event center and trying to get to the locker room so that way it's all quiet for me.
You're good. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, we're going to get going for today. So welcome back to first year program session number 2. We are going to cover an enormous topic that will help you not only be successful during your time here at CU, but beyond. And that is all about effective communication. So as I said before, one of those things that helps us kind of get to know who you are and you effectively communicate who you are with us is if you tell us what your sport is and you have your computer video turned on, please. So please just make sure that you are trying to communicate with us who you are here. So, but we're gonna get going here. So today, like I said, we're talking all about effective communication. And the first thing that we're going to do is get to hear from Lauren, who is my colleague in the Scripps Leadership and Career Development team here. And we're just going to learn a little bit more about effective communication. So Lauren, hit it off for us.
Thanks, Catherine. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Lauren, oversee our Scripps Leadership and Career Development program. I'm going to talk a little high level about communication, types of communication in college, and what makes a good communicator. But first, I would love to hear from you all. Shout it out or put it in the chat. What are some skills that you think it takes to be a good communicator? Anyone? And put it in the chat. You can say confidence. All right. Be clear. Yes, that's perfect. What else? Let's hear from one more. All right. Okay. We'll stick with those two. Confidence and be clear. So as you guys can see on the slides, we have clear, concise, and concrete. Perfect. Respect, listen. That's great. Really, communication is about knowing your audience, knowing how to communicate, and being really concise in what you're saying. So knowing your audience, when you get to college, you're in a little different setting than you were in high school. You're out on your own, you're an adult, you're living in the dorms, you're communicating with all of these different folks. So professors, coaches, teammates and classmates, athletic department staff, sometimes donors, NIL deals, anything like that. It's really important to know who you're communicating with so you can tailor that communication to be effective, to be concise, to be respectful. The way you communicate with your teammates is obviously very different than how you would communicate with your parent or guardian or with your professor. So keep that in mind when you start that communication. Also here at CU and when you're in college, you have a lot of different ways to talk to folks, right? You all know text, email, in person, phone calls, if you guys ever use the phone anymore like that. And then we have different apps, Teamworks, and a few other ones that my colleagues and academics will talk about here shortly. So again, when you're communicating, know your audience, know the different avenues of how you're communicating and how that will change. Be clear, be concise, and be concrete and factual in what you're saying. So the expectations from our end, the 3 R's, you could say 4. First one is read or reach out. If you don't communicate, you can't solve your problems, right? Everyone here in the department and across campus wants to help you succeed. But if you're not reaching out, if you're not telling us what's going on, we can't help you with that. Also, if we're sending you information, the easiest thing we can do is just read it. Open the email, open your text message, open anything from Teamworks that we send you. Our goal is to not spam you, but to send you information that's tailored to you as an individual, whether it's about your major, your career interests, your sport, anything like that. So it's important that you all read it. Seems silly, but something we need you all to remember to do. The second part is respond. So making sure that you're reading everything and replying within that 24-hour time period. That way we know that you're paying attention, that you're getting the information, and you can follow up, and you can follow up with anything you need. The last one is repeat. So we recommend that you check your email and your text messages or Teamworks at least 3 times a day. That way you can stay on top of it. I know everyone looks at their phone and you might have 1,000 emails or you might have 0, right? Let's stay in the 0 camp. This is a great way to help you all get on top of that, because when you come to see you, you're going to get a lot of emails from your professors about class, from academics, from all of these different groups. So checking it regularly will actually help you get ahead of that storm. Nice little slide transition. All right, so a few more on the communication expectations. Respect boundaries. Text message is great, right? You can get a hold of people at any time. Don't text us at midnight. We want to help you, but if it's an emergency or something like that, obviously call, get in touch with the right people, but just be respectful of the boundaries. This goes for anyone in the athletic department, as well as your professors, anyone in those types of roles. Really think about those boundaries and be respectful of that. Be accountable. Please don't ghost us. Again, if we're reaching out to you, it's something to help you. Same with professors and all the people involved with your tenure at CU. You want to reach out to help you. And then utilize these resources in the department. So myself and our staff, everyone else that you're hearing from first year program wants to make sure you all can succeed. So then we'll go into our next slide, which talks a little bit about some basic email etiquette. And then our team at academics will go into more detail on what to do to reach out to a professor. But the most important things here include a subject line. So that's the initial kind of header when you're sending an email. So folks have just a quick idea of what you're reaching out to. Use proper grammar and clearly state your purpose. Again, an email is a little bit more professional of a setting to send information. So read this through. It's not a text message. This isn't you texting your best friends. I mean, inside joke. You're conveying what your questions are and trying to get information from the people you're reaching out to. And then include a closing, a thank you, something like that. That way the folks know how to follow up with you as well. And make sure you're proofreading everything. If you need help with any of this, that's what we're here to do, is help make sure that you're able to effectively communicate with the folks that you're reaching out to. And we can help you with any of those responses too. And so our next slide talks about basic text etiquette. Sometimes your coach would be okay with you texting them, or your strength coach, your athletic trainer, all of these different people. Figure out who your audience is, if it's appropriate to text them, or if a phone call, if it warrants an email, or in person. A text should never take the place of an in-person conversation. If you have something serious going on, call, right? Don't email, don't text, don't send it through Teamworks. That's the best way to do it, is a phone call or in person if you can. That's always better. We have a sample text to send, or a sample text here for you in our next slide that shows if you're coming to a first year program or it's in the fall and you have to miss it, reach out to us, send us a simple text. Again, be clear, be concise, be concrete. So you're saying that you have your final business presentation, you're going to be late. Let me know if you have any questions, and you end with a thanks. So I went through that really quickly. I'm just trying to be clear and concise for you all. If you have questions when you're sending emails, again, if it's to professors, to coaches, anyone like that, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. Now I will turn it over to Cody and Pat to go through more on reaching out to professors and our different options for academics.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to talk about Canvas real quick here and communicating through Canvas. I'm assuming a lot of you guys might be familiar with Canvas already, if you guys used it in high school during COVID, but if not, this is going to be a big part of your day-to-day for the next 4 years while you're here at CU. And so through here, you're going to get a breaking down of each class we're in. So you can see an example of the Herbst Academic Center is a class you guys can access, but You'll find all your in-person and online classes here. You'll find the syllabus, the assignment calendars, so when due dates are. If you have a paper, the paper prompt will be on here. Same with like the grading rubric. You'll also submit your assignments a lot of times, almost all the times through Canvas. You'll get notifications of new grades or new announcements from professors, whether it's class is canceled for the day, or if a new grade posted on the midterm, and we're looking forward to see what we got. Again, Canvas is just gonna be a day-to-day thing for you guys. So if you don't if you don't know it, definitely get a chance to be familiar with it and get familiar with it. Like I said, you'll get new updates and all that. And the other one we're using is called Teamworks, and it's something that every CU student athlete uses. It's a web-based time management tool, so everyone's going to be using it on, like I said, a regular basis. It shows you all of your required athletic and academic activities for the entire semester in a real user-friendly fashion. I like to say like Teamworks is like where you help you know where you need to be. And then others, planners and stuff will let you know kind of what you need to be working on. But we'll have a demo on the next slide here, just to kind of show you what that looks like. Yeah, so here you can see, this is like a pretty regular week for a student. You'll get some practice times in here. You have your classes that automatically pull, and they automatically fill in when you have a class every day. Any mentor meetings you might have, or tutor appointments, or supervised study hall. Those will also fall in here as well. And then you can see towards the bottom on that Tuesday, we have a Buffs with the brand. So that's another meeting that you scheduled to attend. Any NIL or influencer stuff might also go through here as well. But like I said, it's a really handy resource, kind of just keeps everything in line for you. So if you don't have it yet, talk to somebody about helping you get access to it and make sure those notifications are on. And I think it is now Catherine.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Cody. Great to see everyone today. My name is Catherine Lindauer, and I'm one of the academic coordinators in our Herbst Academic Center, and I'm a colleague alongside Cody. As we mentioned with Canvas and Teamworks, just make sure that you turn on your push notifications for those, so that way you can get a notification as soon as there's a new announcement or update to your schedule, and you'll receive reminders as well of any appointments you have. So a huge part of communication is communicating with your professors. You're going to be receiving a class absence letter from your academic coordinator, which lists the dates that you're going to be missing for competition. And you're going to be giving this letter to your professor at the beginning of the semester. And then prior to every competition, you should make sure to remind them of your upcoming travel plans so that you can figure out how to make up the material that you will miss. And if needed, reschedule an exam or quiz to before you leave, after you return, or if it needs to be proctored on the road. We've included here a screenshot of the email you would send at the beginning of the semester if you want to take a picture or screenshot of this. This will also be in that Herbst Academic Center Canvas course Cody talked about. All these slides will be there, so you can take a look at it there as well. But here's a copy of the email that you would send at the beginning of the semester to introduce yourself, to let them know that you're a student athlete and will be missing dates for competition. And then as well as we also included an email that you would send at the beginning of the semester, just to introduce yourself and ask for any tips. Remember, when you send these emails, to include the class subject and the number in the subject line, a greeting such as hello or good afternoon, the professor's name, and a closing such as like sincerely or thank you. And it's always wise to ask your professor how they prefer to be addressed. So they might be Professor King, they might be Dr. King. That's something you'll definitely want to ask. If not, you'll find out in the first week of the semester. In addition, unlike in high school, where your teacher may follow up with you after class to make sure you're doing okay and following the material, at CU and in university settings, you're more expected to take care of yourself and communicate whenever you're unsure of something. So the number one thing is just to show up. So what that means is going to class, arriving on time, and then leaving when class is over and participate. Participation is 10 to 25% of your grade normally, and it is a huge thing that can help your grade, but just simply by showing up and participating. Be respectful when you're in class by avoiding distractions, so removing your headphones, staying awake, silencing your phone, and just using your computer to take notes. And treat your professor as you would your head coach or family member, right? So making sure to address them in the correct way, and then meet with them really consistently in office hours or by appointment to build rapport. You'll want to keep them posted on anything that might interfere with class, such as travel, illness, injury, stress, anything that might impact you from being successful. The more proactive you are, the more effectively your professors can help you in figuring out what they can do to support you so that you can be successful on the playing surface and in your classroom. And by asking questions and participating and engaging with them, it shows that you're paying attention and are involved, which can have a really positive effect on your final grade in the class. I'm going to turn it back over to Catherine Kumancic now.
All right, I'm actually going to jump in for Catherine. So Deandra and I are going to talk about agency and having difficult conversations. Really just to start, agency means having control over your actions as well as the consequences of your choices. So we really want you all to be in the driver's seat of your choices, reflecting on the decisions that you make, and then constructing the life that you want to be living. So I will turn it over to Deandra about having some difficult conversations.
Yes. So hi, everyone. Again, my name is Deandra Walker. I'm part of our diversity, equity, inclusion team here. Before we get a little more into difficult conversations, I do have an interactive piece for you all. So if you have your phones or your computers, type in this link here for Slido, and I want you to answer this prompt. How do you plan to set yourself up for success? So you'll see kind of 5 different concepts or things that you can do to set yourself up for success, and I want you to rank them. So we will give you all about 2 minutes to do that. And if anybody has any problems, let me know. I can't see everybody, so you'll have to unmute if you're having any technical issues. Okay, we're getting some answers in. I'll give like another minute. We only have 18 responses and there's about 45 of you. So please participate. I promise it'll go quicker if you participate. Okay, so it's looking like majority of you all said that you'll meet with your academic coordinators and mentors. Awesome. Using a planner with class, practicing with your practicing game schedule, making sure you share your schedule with professors like Catherine and Cody just talked about, meeting professors during office hours, finding a study space, and communicating with your athletic trainers. So this was kind of a trick a little bit, but we wanted you all to just kind of recognize that all of these are things that you can do to set yourself up for success. So following with that line of communication, we talk about effective communication, making sure we're communicating with everybody that we interact with, from the academic side to the athletic side to your well-being. Having an open line of communication is just super important to make sure that your time here at CU is successful overall. And then I will share. Oh, thanks, Catherine. So this kind of falls into difficult dialogue. So these conversations are not easy. They don't always feel the best, but we have to have them. And that's part of just being an adult. Part of growing up is making sure you know how to advocate for yourself and advocate for what you need. So this is kind of a quick little 6-step guide of how to have difficult dialogue. So the first is being open to hearing others' perspectives. You know, we're not always going to go into these conversations with the outcome that we want, or we may not go into these conversations with the expectations to change somebody's mind, but we do want to go in to understand where they're coming from. So this also falls into entering the conversation in a non-defensive manner. So be open-minded, be flexible, be adaptable to what you're hearing the other person say, and then listen to understand and not to be understood. So when you listen to understand, you're listening to what the person is saying and how they're feeling. When you listen to be understood, you miss some of those little nonverbal cues. So body language changes, things that, you know, you can kind of sense the person may not be willing to, or they may not hear you all the way. So make sure that you're listening to understand what the other person is saying instead of being understood of what you're saying. And then accept the conversation and the outcomes. Like I said, we go into these conversations not always to change somebody's mind, but we go into these conversations to have dialogue. We don't want to have debates. Nothing good comes out of debates. But with dialogues, we can learn a lot more about where the other person is coming from. We can hear their perspective more and then make a decision based on that. For number 5, do your homework if you're able to. So when we think about this, I think about this in more of like a social, political, social justice setting. So when things come up or you hear something problematic, if you can do your homework before entering that conversation, it kind of gives you a baseline so you know what you're talking about. So we're not going into these conversations with one side perspective, but we can go in with a more holistic view of the topic as a whole. And then for the 6th step, you will make mistakes. Having these conversations is not easy. You may not know all the terminology, you may not always know what to say, but don't let that discourage you. This is part of learning. This is part of growing, is making mistakes. So see it as a learning opportunity, and see it as, you know, you're learning something new, you're hearing something new, you're able to understand somebody else's perspective as well. And then I think at this point, we're going to go into our cohorts. So,
yeah, so I can give some brief instructions before we break out into cohorts. So we're going to go into our different groups. We're going to go through, there's 6 different scenarios, and each group will go through all of them and talk through what you all think the best way to handle each situation is. And then we're going to identify one person from each cohort to share out on one of the questions. So we'll break up into cohorts, and then Catherine will bring us back after we discuss everything.
Okay, so we're gonna sort of dive deeper into more of that communication that we talked about in our large group, because like Lauren and Catherine said, now in college, you will have a lot more responsibility on yourselves to be able to communicate with professors, with coaches, with other staff members. Your parents aren't here to do it for you. Your, you know, whomever else is in your life that was taking care of that. Now it is on you to make sure that you can cover and communicate what you need to do. So first prompt, you've missed a test because your team was traveling. Who do you need to communicate with, and what do you communicate? So you missed a test. Who's the first person you should tell?
Your professor.
Right, you should tell your professor, and hopefully you already gave that class absence letter. So the travel letter or the class absence letter that Catherine from academics talked about, you give those to your professors at the first week of every term. So they should know when you're missing and what you're going to miss. So you tell your professor. Who else should you tell? Probably one other important person to tell.
Academic advisor or?
Right. Yep. Your HERPS academic staffer, because they will help you figure out makeups if you're going to be traveling. They will help you figure out if maybe at the beginning of the semester, the professor thinks you're missing too much class, and they'll help you switch classes. So yes, I think you should tell your professor as well as your HERPS academic coordinator. Your roommate hasn't been cleaning up after themselves and has been coming home late during the week. They've been keeping you up and you've been struggling at school and practice because you're tired. How do you handle this situation? So this is what Deandra and Dr. Rubin King mentioned about difficult conversations. So you have a roommate who is not being very respectful of your shared space. How, what should we do?
You should probably talk to them and let them know that their actions are affecting your well-being.
Yep, I think that's a good idea that you should address it directly. Having roommates, especially in a dorm that's not super big, can be a challenge. And you don't want to get to a point where maybe you're being passive aggressive or you're being resentful and they're just living their life and they have no idea what they're doing is bugging you. So Hank is right that you should talk to them directly. And then what are we going to talk to them about in this situation? If how they're scheduling themselves is negatively impacting you, what are you gonna what's our goal here in that conversation?
Maybe to find like a compromise, like something that works for both of you guys, so they don't have to change their schedule up too much and you don't either.
Thanks, Hank. Yeah, that's a good one. So sharing a room with someone is mostly about compromise. Things are going to be, it's not going to be exactly your way and it's not going to be exactly their way. But if you can communicate and maybe you say, hey, I can't stay up late on these nights because I have a game the next day. Can you be extra careful those nights? Maybe that's a compromise. Yes, but that is probably the biggest thing you guys will learn in the dorm is that neither party gets it exactly how they want it to, and you're going to have to come to some sort of middle ground to make sure it's livable for both of you. Next question, or next issue. So you failed a quiz on material you still don't understand. The test is in a few weeks. What do you do and who do you communicate with to get help? So we need a little more clarification on the material because you have a big test coming up. Who should you go to? Hope, who would you ask if you needed help in a class? Or who do you think you should ask in college?
Your tutors.
Yes, so you might have a tutor. That's a good one. Who else should you talk to about the class? Calling on you, Hope.
Your professor.
Right. I think you should. Oh, do I have an echo? Do I have an echo? Anybody?
No, you're not echoing.
Okay, thank you. Right. You should go to your professor, and they probably have. Oh.
I will go to Mindy.
You talk to Mindy? That's a good one. So Mindy is the men's basketball, the coordinator. So that's every sport has their own. Asan would go to Mindy, and then Mindy would help. You would help. Your academic coordinator would help find when are those office hours. Do you maybe need to set up more tutoring if you're just not getting it? Maybe there's a study group in your class you can join if you're not understanding. But the point is that, yes, it is reach out, say you need help, and you need to do that before the test comes, because if you do it after the test, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is part of difficult conversations. You hear somebody make a racial slur at fueling station. How do you address the problem or the situation? This was what Deandra taught us. Does anyone have an idea how we would address this if we heard something that is not right? Tinks, what do you think?
I don't really know.
So there's, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you'll learn a lot of these skills through our diversity and inclusive excellence team, or diversity and equity and inclusion team. And they teach us all how to use I sentences. So like Deandra said, you don't want to approach someone in a confrontational manner. You want to say I statements, maybe how you felt in hearing that word, how it impacts you when you hear that slur, and hopefully that impacts that other person to change their behavior. Talked about this a little bit last week, but if you wake up feeling ill in the morning and you want to go back to bed instead of going to practice or class, who should you contact and what should you do if you don't feel good? Abby, I don't know if you're on campus yet, but who would you go to if you feel sick in before your day starts?
Well, I would contact my professor or coaches, and I just don't want to get people sick, so you probably want to stay home.
Yep, I think that's you can go to your coaches, you can go to your athletic trainer who you'll meet when you get on campus, and that's a good way to look at it. You don't want to hurt anyone else or harm anyone else, so you ask them how you should proceed. Same thing with your class, with your professors. Say, explain why you're missing and how you can make it up. So, just because we have about a minute related, when we go back into our big group, I need one person to talk about this prompt number 1. So you missed it, you have a missed test, and who do you need to communicate with and what do you need to communicate? So this is an easy one. We said your professor, your academic coordinator, and you have your missed class letter. Who wants to say that out loud to the group? Grace, will you take one for the team and say this out loud?
Sure.
Okay, it's very easy. You're missing a test. You make sure your class absence letter is turned in. You tell your professor and you tell your academic coordinator and they'll help you. So I just gave you the answer to say out loud.
Got it.
Got it. You can do it. I believe in you. And I won't call on you for the rest of the summer. So the rest of you better get ready because it's going to be your turn eventually. But thank you, Grace. I appreciate it. And we're first eager to get over soon. But I think we're heading back now. So we're group number 1. So when they say that, I will be there and I will help you, Grace. Got it? Thank you.
Hello, group. Did you guys get that app downloaded, Abs? Do you guys want to get it dropped into the chat just real quick?
Which app are you talking about?
There's a CU athlete app that you might have been using so far.
No.
Have you guys heard of the athlete app, the CU athlete app?
Yeah, we got it.
You got it?
Yeah, Son doesn't know what he's talking about.
Love it. I'm going to just put it in the chat for everyone once we're back and give us a couple seconds just to make sure everybody has it. So I think everyone's joining us. Love it. Okay, so while everyone is joining back in again, if you didn't get to it or if you're still working on it, make sure that you download this link that I just put into the chat for everyone. So this takes you to the App Store for you to download the CU Athlete app. There's many different reasons why we use that app. Some of them are for finding events that we have going on. Some of them are you can check in for fueling station. You can pre-order to-go boxes if you're in a hurry. So there's a lot of great reasons why you would want to do that. So just while everybody's getting back still. If you have questions, ask me about it later too. And then I'm gonna get us back to prompt number 1, and then Deandra and Erin, you can run the show.
All right, so we're just gonna go through the different prompts and have one group, so the first cohort, someone will share out. So you have missed a test because your team was traveling. Who do you need to communicate and what do you communicate? Who from the first group can share?
I'm group number 1, and we're gonna have Grace share our answer here.
Perfect.
Okay, so while everyone is joining back in again, if you didn't get to it or if you're still working on it, make sure that you download this link that I just put into the chat for everyone. So this takes you to the App Store for you to download the CU Athlete app. There's many different reasons why we use that app. Some of them are for finding events that we have going on. Some of them are you can check in for fueling station. You can pre-order to-go boxes if you're in a hurry. So there's a lot of great reasons why you would want to do that. So just while everybody's getting back still. If you have questions, ask me about it later too. And then I'm gonna get us back to prompt number 1, and then Deandra and Erin, you can run the show.
All right, so we're just gonna go through the different prompts and have one group, so the first cohort, someone will share out. So you have missed a test because your team was traveling. Who do you need to communicate and what do you communicate? Who from the first group can share?
I'm group number 1, and we're gonna have Grace share our answer here.
Perfect.
Hi, so in this case, you would communicate with your professor and you would communicate with your academic advisor or coordinator, and then you'd send that letter to them.
Awesome. Yeah, I know in our group, we talked about trying to send it out at the beginning of the semester, even if you're not traveling till later, but just so that they're aware of, hey, this is when I'm going to be out. And then as it gets closer, reminding them and checking in. Awesome. We can move on to the next one. All right, so the one with your roommate not cleaning up after themselves and coming home late. They've been keeping you up. And how would you handle this situation? Who from group 2 will go?
Well, you should go like confront them about it.
Yeah, go confront them directly. Absolutely.
Like extremely direct.
Extremely direct. Okay. Other input?
I know in my group, we talked about talking to the RA. I don't know if anybody else from group 2 wants to share out.
You just said talk to your roommate, and if it doesn't get fixed, then go to your RA or your coach.
Yeah, start with them, try to find a solution. And if you can't, then you may need to bring some other folks in, but hopefully they'd be receptive. Awesome. All right, you failed a quiz on material you still don't understand. The test is in a few weeks. What do you do and who do you communicate with to get help? Group number 3.
Yeah, group 3, we get extra credit because Jordan answered the first or the second question too, which one's off hook now. So Cole, let's hear what our group talked about.
Okay, so we talked about that you want to reach out to your academic advisor. You can also talk to a plethora of other people, like say a classmate in the same class, or reach out to your professor for their office hours. You can meet with them. And what's up, dude? And you can just talk to them, get their perspective on the topic, see if that works for you. You might just be thinking about things the wrong way. And then hopefully you're prepared for that test.
Awesome. Yes, especially in classes that are like 500 people. It's really important that you're communicating, going to office hours, talking to your academic coordinators or mentors. If you need a tutor, getting that set up. So lots of support that you all have access to. All right, so you overhear somebody make a racial slur in the fueling station. How do you address that person or the situation? group number 4.
So Cody and I were on with our cohort group 4, and I just want to give a shout out to soccer because Kyla from soccer is going to come up and share our ideas, and I've seen soccer represent. So props to you all for participating. But yeah, I'm going to give it away to Kyla, who's going to share our ideas.
You got in front of about it.
So our group talked about maybe like approaching the person and having a conversation with them and explaining kind of why it isn't okay or how it affects anybody. And if you're not I guess comfortable and or want to talk to somebody else, approaching someone like another member of the staff that can help you kind of deal with the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely wanting to shut it down. Obviously, like if you don't feel like you can say something, bringing in a trusted adult. I know our group talked about consulting with the DE&I team as well. Yeah. All right. So this was my group and we forgot to pick someone. So I'm just going to tell someone. So you woke up feeling ill this morning and you want to go back to bed instead of going to practice or class. Who do you contact and what do you do? So Willow, will you share out what we talked about?
Yeah. So this one I'm actually like a little confused about, but I think you email your coach, you email your advisor for like your classes and your academics and your teacher.
So definitely want to touch base with the athletic trainer first and foremost, and then depending on that, if you can't make it to class, then bringing in professors or academic coordinators, people that can help if you're going to miss those things. Awesome, thank you. All right, last one. So you're feeling lost and disconnected. Coming to see you is a big change from your hometown and you're missing your family and friends. Who would you talk to? Group 6.
Yeah, so we said you would talk to your teammates, your coaches, PHP, and your family.
Awesome. Great. All right. Well, you guys did great with that. Obviously, there's a lot of people around you to support you. So if one of these situations comes up, just know that there's a lot of people that can help.
Thank you so much, Erin. And thank you guys all for being involved and being participatory in this too. I know last week we were a little bit nervous to be chatting in front of all of our new friends, but these are people who you are going to get to spend the next 4+ years with. So hopefully feeling a little bit more confident about it. So like I just said, you may have had time to do this in your breakout group, but if you have not, please make sure that you download the CU Athlete app. It is where everything is housed that you need to figure out for food, for fueling station menus, for checking in a fueling station, finding different events that we have available to you, whether they're mandatory or they're extra. So please just make sure that you have that downloaded, especially before you get to campus. If you need a reminder of it too, you can let us know and we can try to get that taken care of for you. One more really wonderful way that the athletic department gets all of our information out to student athletes is through something called Ralphie's Roundup. So this graphic that is on the right side of your page right now is just an example of an email that we send out every single week. So it has news for every single student facing department that is within our athletic department. And it has all of our weekly events coming up. So if you want to know how you can go and cheer on your lacrosse friends, or if you want to know when there's an exciting event that you want to attend, this is really just to help make sure that you know everything that is available to you in this athletic department. So again, it is posted every single week. It's sent out to you on Monday morning. So this is really only the only mass email that you will get for the entire week. And so just to make sure that we are getting down a little bit less on our emails that we're sending to you. This also lives on your Teamworks app. It also will live on all of our social media as well. So if you have questions about what's going on, please make sure that you check out this first. Your coaches and your directors of ops and everyone else also gets this too. So basically, we're just trying to help put all of our communication in one spot. So just as a wrap up, wanted to have a little bit of reflection on our communication and our relationship building opportunities that are available to you here at CU. So this is mostly really important because we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success in all of your different ways that you're communicating. So again, text and emails are a really great way to communicate, but they should not be replacing in-person conversations. If you have something really serious come up, you should do that in person. We are always here for you. If you are emailing with professors, it helps if you build those relationships. So that first day, as our Herbst academics staff said, the first day, go and introduce yourself, sit in the front of the class, build those relationships so that at some point, if you really need something, they might be able to help you because they know who you are and that you've been giving it a great effort. It's always better to communicate in person. It leaves less room for having any misunderstandings so that you can really read each other and get all of your information out at the same time. The way you text or you email one person might be different from another. So how you're going to text a friend is going to be different than how you're going to text a professor or your coach. Also, each team is different. So some coaches might not love having communication through text or those serious things be sent over text. So listen to those rules from each of your teams. Make sure that you understand what the expectation is. As a general rule of thumb, it's really hard to over communicate, so it's okay to continue to communicate. Our staff is here to help you. And so clear communication with all of us helps build relationships as well. So really just think about it. So there's 300 people that are in this building, in the CUEC, in the Dow Ward building, and every single one of them is here to help you, not here to necessarily just serve you. So please make sure that you're respectful to everyone that you come into contact with, because it's our job to try to help you be successful too. And then I know everybody had put that on their slides, that turning on notifications. So from emails, from Teamworks, Canvas, everything that you possibly can have, the CU Athlete app, turn those on so that we can make sure that you have the up-to-date information. If you're getting an alert from us on something, it is for you. It is meant for you. It's not just to bog you down. Anything else that I missed, cohort leaders? Probably not. Great. So lastly, just another reminder, we have all of our first year program resources housed in the Canvas app under the Herbst Academic Center hub. So just make sure, if you have not done so yet, I think Catherine has and will send out another reminder if you have not accepted the invitation to that course. Just make sure that you accept it. It will house all of our different videos and our PowerPoints and any other things that we will be presenting you during the summer. And then excitingly, we're at the end of this session for today. So I'm going to leave this screen on here for you to, as a reminder, just to make sure that you are starting to follow all of us on social media, because that's another really great way to pay attention to all of the things going on. And from there, I think we're done with this week. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with me or your cohort leader. And then next week, we are all going to talk about time management, something that we hear often from current students, that they didn't realize how much they had to prioritize it and how they needed to think about it before they got here. So we will look forward to seeing you next week. So anybody know what day are we meeting next week? It's a question. Wednesday. Thank you, Angelina. Appreciate it. Yeah, this was our only Thursday session that we'll have this entire year. See you guys on Wednesday next week. Appreciate all of your time. Have a good one.